Finish this sentence for me. Jalen Brunson is...
Jalen Brunson is one of the best point guards in the NBA today, but things weren't always that way. Before Jalen transformed into an all-star and saved the Knicks from years of mediocrity, he was just an undersized second-round pick with an uncertain future. However, today, his talent and stardom is undeniable.
This game is very special to me. This game means everything to me. I put my entire life into this game.
From coming off the Mavericks bench to becoming the biggest star in the Big Apple, this is the story of Jalen Brunson. And Brunson's story actually starts just south of the bright lights of New York City, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, where Jalen grew up. His father, Rick, was a professional basketball player, spending time in the NBL and CBA, in addition to having a lengthy 9-year NBA career, where he played for multiple teams. Because of this, Jalen basically grew up in NBA locker rooms.
You grew up around the NBA, right? Your dad, Rick, he actually played for the Knicks.
He did. Yeah, he played for the 99 team when we went to the finals, so he brought them a little good luck.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I just remember just being a kid and having Knicks stuff around. We still have old Knicks blankets from when he played, so it's pretty special.
While his father was with the Knicks, he brought Jalen around so much that the ushers and attendants knew him by name. And when his mother Sandra noticed that his only friends were Knicks stars Larry Johnson and Marcus Camby, she enrolled him in pre-K to socialize with kids his own age.
I just remember like when I used to meet like players like that, like it became normal. When I used to bring friends around, like, oh, like you met this person, that person. I'm like, yeah, I met him, but I see him all the time.
But after growing up around the game like that, Jalen only wanted to do one thing with his life. He wanted to play ball, just like his dad.
The love of basketball was evident to me. Honestly, since the day I was born, I was always surrounded by it.
Then in 2006, when Jalen was 10 years old, things changed. He tagged along with his dad to a preseason practice with the 76ers. And when they arrived, Rick was informed that he had been cut. Rick dreaded telling his basketball-obsessed son the news, and even more so because he knew he was going to retire rather than seeking another non-guaranteed journeyman contract. But before leaving the 76ers locker room, Rick conveyed a message to his son. If you really want this man, you've got to work like nobody's business. A message that really stuck with Jalen. And though his father's playing career ended, his coaching career began. But it came with struggle for the Brunson family. They would have to move 7 times in the coming years for various coaching jobs. But throughout the turmoil, one thing was constant for Jalen: basketball. In the 7th grade, he quit all other sports to focus strictly on hoops. And this is also when his dad became his one-on-one trainer.
Don't slow up. No. Full speed. Here. Jump. Take you to your shot. Go.
They would train rigorously 3 times a week for the rest of his time in middle school before progressing to daily sessions in high school.
I think I learned how to work when I got to league. I didn't really understand how hard I had to work before. So I instilled that in Jalen, at a young age to kind of eliminate the fact of just trying to make it every year. I think he put himself in a great position.
High school is also when Jalen finally had a consistent living situation, as his family settled down in Lincolnshire, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. And it didn't take long for all the work Jalen and his father had put in to pay off on the court. While playing at Stevenson High School, Jalen became a school legend. He earned an All-Lake County honorable mention as a freshman, but his sophomore year is when he really started to shine. After starting the year with a 10-4 record, Jalen led Stevenson on a 19-game winning streak, culminating in a state championship game clash against the 3-time defending champs, Simeon Career Academy, led by Jabari Parker and Kendrick Nunn. And Brunson fell short. Despite his best efforts, the game ended 58-40 in Simeon's favor, and Jalen was held to just 1 point in the entire second half. Brunson finished the season averaging 21.5 points per game and was named All-State second team, being the only sophomore with an All-State nomination. The next year, Stevenson returned to the playoffs, this time with an unbelievable 32-1 record. They played against the Jalil Okafor-led Whitney Young High School in the semifinals, and Jalen scored a record-setting 56 points in the game. But Stevenson lost once again, 75-68. That shouldn't take away from Brunson's performance that season, though. He averaged 26.1 points, 5.4 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 2.9 steals. He also won Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Illinois and was the only junior to make the All-State first team. At this point, Jalen started getting the national recognition he deserved. He was a 5-star recruit and the #1 ranked player in the state of Illinois. He received scholarship offers from over 8 different colleges, but prior to his senior season, announced that he would be committing to Villanova. During his last year of high school ball, Brunson continued to impress. He set the career record for scoring in Lake County. But more importantly, he led Stevenson to yet another place in the state championship game. And this time, they won. Brunson dropped 30, with the game ending 57-40.
It was just so emotional that day. I can't even explain it. I mean, it was one of the best times of my life. Hugging my parents after the game. There's so many rare moments me and my dad have a moment like that, and it was just really emotional.
After falling short of 2 state championships, Jalen finally reached the mountaintop. He was named Illinois Mr. Basketball and repeated as Illinois Gatorade Player of the Year. And as that chapter closed, Brunson's focus shifted to college ball. And as the top recruit, the pressure was on for him to perform right away. And perform he did. With Jalen as the starter, the Wildcats quickly climbed to the top of the college rankings, finishing the season as the 6th-ranked team in the country. When the NCAA tournament rolled around, Brunson was ready to prove himself on a national stage. Villanova steamrolled the competition before meeting the #1 overall team, Kansas, in the Elite Eight. The game was one for the ages, both teams trading blows down the stretch, but the Wildcats held on to win on the back of 2 clutch free throws by Brunson that iced the game. Villanova went on to dismantle Oklahoma in the Final Four, leading to a national championship matchup with North Carolina. In what was one of the greatest college basketball games in history, the Wildcats once again got it done by way of a buzzer-beating 3 from Chris Jenkins.
Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. The national champion.
And while Brunson mainly played a complimentary role, he was still a starter on a national championship winning team as a freshman. But just like in high school, his sophomore year, he exploded. Villanova was even better, finishing the season as the #1 ranked team in the country. And this time around, Jalen wasn't a role player. He was the 2nd leading scorer on the team, averaging 14.7 points and 4.1 assists. He was also a unanimous selection for the Big East first team. While the Wildcats would get bounced in the 2nd round of the NCAA tournament, that was just a setup for an insane redemption story for Brunson's junior season.
Probably the biggest obstacle for him was not being the go-to guy. In his 3rd year, he was the go-to guy, and then the obstacle was, how do I make sure I'm the go-to guy and I keep everybody else involved?
And it was in his junior season that he established himself as the best player in college basketball. Villanova was once again dominant, finishing the season ranked 2nd overall. And Brunson led the team with 18.9 points and 4.6 assists per game. But when tournament time came around, the Wildcats took their game to a whole nother level. They won every tournament game by double digits on their way to another NCAA title.
I really cannot put this into words at all. I just love my brothers. I love my team. I love Nova Nation. It's just spectacular.
Jalen's been questioned at each level. He was a dominant high school player, and a lot of people said, well, he's not going to be able to dominate like that in college. He'll be a good college player. And then he goes on to be National Player of the Year.
And Brunson won just about every college award in basketball, completing one of the greatest college careers we've ever seen. With nothing more to prove, following the season, Jalen declared for the NBA draft. And with a resume as impressive as his, you would expect him to be a lottery pick. But we all know that's not what happened. The 2018 NBA draft was absolutely stacked. At the top, you had players like DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, and Trae Young. But there were also absolute gems scattered throughout the draft, like SGA at pick 11, Michael Porter Jr. at pick 14, and Anthony Simons at pick 24. But easily the biggest steal of the entire draft came at the 3rd pick of the 2nd round, where the Dallas Mavericks selected
Jalen Brunson from Villanova University,
completing one of the best drafts in recent memory for an individual team, as they landed Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson in one fell swoop. It's still hard to believe that Jalen fell as far down the draft order as he did. He had NBA pedigree and an unbelievable record of winning at every level. How was he so overlooked? Well, many experts thought that Jalen's game wouldn't translate well to the league. By NBA standards, he was undersized and unathletic, expected to be a liability on defense, and nothing more than a career backup. But, per usual, the experts were wrong. Brunson's first season in the NBA was pretty uneventful. He was buried on the depth chart behind 2 lottery picks in Dennis Smith Jr. and Luka Doncic, so that was to be expected. But that doesn't mean he wasn't taking advantage of every opportunity he got, like in February, when he started in place of Luka and put up 22 points, a career high at the time, which he went on to beat in March, when he dropped 34 points on the Spurs. By the end of the season, he had established himself as the Mavs' 6th man and proved that they could lean on him when Luka needed a break. But then, Jalen faced the first major setback of his career. A little over halfway through his 2nd season, he had to get shoulder surgery to repair a torn labrum and would miss the remainder of the year. All the groundwork he had put in was now in jeopardy. It's impossible to know how a player will recover from a major injury, and a shoulder injury can be devastating for basketball players. But Brunson was used to adversity, and he came back from injury better than ever.
Shoulders 100%. I'm ready to go. Plain and simple.
He set career highs across the board in his third year, averaging 12.6 points, 3.5 assists, and 3.4 rebounds per game, and finished fourth in the Sixth Man of the Year voting. The Mavs also finished fifth in the West that year, which meant Brunson would get his first taste of the playoffs. And to say his first playoff series went poorly would be an understatement. The Mavericks lost in 7 games, and Brunson's numbers went down in every category from the regular season. But his most glaring statistic was his abysmal plus-minus of -56. After that, the Mavs decided not to offer Brunson a contract extension. They did, however, pick up the team option that brought him back to Dallas for a 4th year. And the Mavs would live to regret not extending Jalen after that 3rd season when his value was low. Because in year 4, he became a star. Brunson used that bad playoff series as motivation and came back a man possessed. He was finally named a starter to start the 2021-22 season, and that quickly paid off for Dallas.
There was a period where Luka went out and I started to start, and I was playing really well. I think I was averaging like 20 and like 6 maybe, whatever.
Jalen averaged 16.3 points, 4.8 assists, and 3.9 rebounds during the regular season, and the Mavs finished 4th in the West. And while the regular season numbers were nice, Brunson was after redemption in the playoffs, and he got it in spades. In the first round against the Jazz, Luka missed the first 3 games to injury, and Brunson carried the Mavs. They lost Game 1, but in Game 2, Jalen exploded for 41 points, 5 assists, and 8 rebounds in a 110-104 win.
The second game, I think he had like 45, something like that. It was really impressed. I was just on the bench watching, like, wow, this guy's amazing.
He then followed that up with a 31-point, 6-assist performance in Game 3 for another win. So, without Luka, Dallas was leading the series 2-1.
When people counted us out because Luka was out, it kind of like lit a fire in all of us. I mean, you see stuff like that, like the chatter, it's impossible not to see. And then guys, we send it to each other, we're like, yo, like, people don't think like we're capable. And obviously, once Luka came back, it was all said and done.
Doncic returned for Game 4, and the Mavs went on to win the series in 6 games. But Brunson's numbers were beyond impressive, averaging 27.8 points, 4.2 assists, and 4.8 rebounds for the series. Then, in the second round against the Suns, he was fantastic again. Dallas won the series in 7 games, and Jalen averaged 18.7 points. Just a year after being bounced in the first round, and perhaps the worst stretch of basketball in Brunson's career, he helped lead the Mavs to the conference finals. And while they would go on to lose against the eventual champion Golden State Warriors, Brunson proved to the world that he was for real. And, even more importantly, his price went up. It was clear that Jalen was a star, and for the Mavericks, it was too late.
I really did want to stay in Dallas. Before my 4th season in Dallas, my last season in Dallas, we tried to extend our contract, whatever we can get. The most we can get was like 4 years and $55 million. And so, obviously, we wanted to do that. I wanted to stay there. I thought I would be there for a long time, and I liked my role there. Trade deadline comes, I'm not getting extended. I'm probably going to get traded. The way I've been playing, like, there's just like,
Playing well, right?
I'm playing somewhat decent.
After years of being on the team, Dallas's front office failed to evaluate his value, and they couldn't afford him anymore. Plenty of teams were willing to pay for Brunson's services, but one team quickly emerged as the obvious destination for him. The New York Knicks had recently hired his father, Rick, as an assistant coach, and the team president, Leon Rose, was his former agent. So, after nailing out the details on a 4-year, $104 million contract, Jalen was headed back to the locker room he grew up in as a kid. He was a New York Knick, a move that proved to be the best the Knicks made in a very long time.
This is you as a kid walk around the Garden in a Knicks jersey, and now you're playing for the Knicks and kids come to the Garden wearing your jersey. That's cool. That's what's up. It's really cool.
No, it says a lot about when a player is just comfortable, right? My dad's an assistant coach. My 2 best friends play with me. It says a lot, too, about you have your system, your support group around you. You know, it allows you to be you, and there's comfort there.
Brunson was a breath of fresh air for a franchise that had been struggling. Prior to his arrival, the Knicks had made 1 playoff appearance in the last 9 years. And in that series, they were embarrassed by the Atlanta Hawks, losing in 5 games. But with Brunson's arrival, everything changed. His tenacious bulldog mentality was perfect for head coach Tom Thibodeau's system.
When I first remember meeting Tibbs was in 8th grade when he was in Chicago. My dad was on staff there, and so he's the same coach, he's the same motivator as he is now. And so to actually be able to play for him it's special. It's coming full circle. And so nothing's really surprising me, but I'm up for a challenge.
And as the primary ball handler and focal point of the offense, he elevated the players around him, like Julius Randle.
But he just made the game a million times easier for me. A million times. Like, I didn't have to work to every single time down the possession. And P, you know how that is, bro. Like, but JB just made the game so much easier.
In his first year with the Knicks, Brunson set career highs with 24 points and 6.2 assists per game. But even more importantly, the Knicks were playing winning basketball again. After finishing 11th in the East the previous year, they jumped to 5th. And their offensive rating improved from 22nd in the league to 3rd. It was night and day. And in the playoffs that year, Brunson was special. He led the Knicks to their first playoff series win since 2012, as they beat the Cavs in the first round 4-1. And Jalen led all scorers with 24 points per game. They went on to lose in the conference semifinals against the Miami Heat, but it was no fault of Jalen Brunson. He put together several impressive performances, including an insane 41 points in their Game 6 elimination game. He again led this series in scoring, averaging 31 points per game. Despite the loss, basketball was being restored in New York, and it was all thanks to an undersized, unathletic second-round pick.
I'm a guy who works hard, will do anything it takes to win, sacrifice a lot. I don't want to come here and expect everything from everyone here on this team. I want to earn it. I want to earn that respect. I want them to see that this is what I'm about. X's and O's, all that stuff, yeah, that's basketball, but like the things that can help us on the court to create better chemistry, it's going to help us.
But when the 23-24 season rolled around, Brunson and the Knicks had to prove that this wasn't just a one-off. They not only had to back up the previous year, they needed to build on it. So, what did Brunson do? He did what he always does, and answered the call. He set career highs yet again, averaging 28.7 points and 6.7 assists per game. And he did it by way of some incredible performances, like when he went for a career-high 61 points against the Spurs, or when he tied the NBA record for the most threes in a game without a miss, with 9 against the Suns.
It's good! A 50-point night for Jalen Brunson, and he's 9 of 9 from 3.
He also became the 4th Knick ever to score 40 or more points in back-to-back games, and tied the Knicks' 30-point game record for a single season with 36. On top of that, for the first time in his career, he was named an All-Star and stood in Madison Square Garden with thousands of fans chanting MVP.
I mean, I got nothing to say. I got nothing to say.
Fully realizing what he meant to the city and that the work he put in was all worth it. The season was historic for Brunson, but it was also huge for the Knicks, who finished 2nd in the East. And for all their accomplishments, what were they given? A brutal first-round playoff matchup with the 76ers, who just got Joel Embiid back from injury. Not to mention, Julius Randle had been injured during the regular season and ruled out for the year. But despite many thinking the Knicks would lose the series, they proved why they were the 2nd seed in the East. And, well, they also had Jalen Brunson. At the start of the series, Brunson played well, scoring 22, 24, and 39 points respectively. But when it came time to close out the Sixers in 6 games, he went nuclear, doing something we haven't seen in the playoffs since Michael Jordan. For the last 3 games of the series, Brunson had 3 consecutive 40-plus point games, reaching a level of play nobody could have seen coming. But unfortunately for the Knicks, what they couldn't see coming was the slew of injuries that hit them during their second-round series against the Pacers. In Game 1, the Knicks pulled out a win, thanks to another 40-plus point game from Jalen Brunson. He became just the 4th player ever to have 4 straight 40-plus point playoff games. But New York lost center Mitchell Robinson early in the game to a fractured ankle. Then in Game 2, the Knicks once again found a way to win. But OG Anunoby picked up a hamstring injury that kept him out for pretty much the remainder of the series. With the injuries piling up, the Pacers took the next 2 games at home. But Brunson stepped up to stop the bleeding with a 44-point Game 5. This, however, was the Knicks' final stand. They lost the next 2 games with Josh Hart getting hurt in Game 6 and then Brunson himself fracturing his left hand in Game 7. But that shouldn't take away from the season he had.
The amount of times I hear from people or coaches or whatever, like, oh, you're playing great, like, don't worry about it. In my head, I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I know I can be playing better.
Tired is for the weak. Mentally strong. Go.
Jalen Brunson has almost single-handedly revived one of the biggest franchises in the NBA, shining in a city where the lights have proved to be too bright for so many others. And if history tells us anything, he'll be back for more next year, and he'll be better than ever. Thanks for watching Nonstop. And hey, if you like this video, then we've got another one for you right here. See you next time.